Carson, how impressive is it watching Tom Brady dominate over the years, no matter who he's throwing to, no matter what talent or the lack thereof that he's got around him?
Yeah, and what never gets talked about him is the atmosphere and the environment he has to throw the football in. I mean, when you look at quarterbacks that, like myself, that played in Arizona in a dome on grass, half my games, but then you look at him having to go to Buffalo, him having to go to New York and play in the Meadowlands all those years, and then playing there in Foxborough, and the numbers he's put up, wet, cold, windy, snow, you name it, he's done it year after year in that environment. And I don't think it's kind of like earlier you were talking about Brett Favre's, about how tough he is in that streak. That streak is the most impressive stat in all of sports. Right behind that is what Tom Brady's done in inclement weather over 18 years.
Well, go ahead.
Go ahead.
And we're talking not only the inclement weather, but as Jenna's alluding to, really since Randy left, aside from Gronk, hasn't had elite pass catchers. Now, there's one guy that's a future Hall of Famer that whenever he comes close to being up in a contract has always been tied to or connected to New England. It's a guy you know very well, Larry Fitzgerald, a guy that maybe would have left Arizona if you didn't end up going to Arizona and giving him good quarterback play for only, I would say, the second time in his career other than the Kurt Warner years. What do you think that combo would have looked like if we would have been able to see it? If we would have
I
seen
don't even want to talk about Larry Warner.
Come
on, Larry's never leaving Arizona. He is an Arizona Cardinal for life. He's the greatest Arizona Cardinal to ever play. I would hate to see him in any other uniform. Okay. I can't see it. But I don't want to say it. But you know what would happen. 100 catches for 1,300 yards, but I don't even want to pretend.
Don't even want to put it out there.
To see him in that blue. I want to see him in that red.
Look, for guys like Tom Brady and for Aaron Rodgers, sure, the physical skill, the football acumen, that's all one thing. But for Tom Brady to come in year 15 or so and to be so focused on the minutia, the tiny little things, the making sure you're there for OTAs, the spending the one-on-one time in the offseason with the receivers. I mean, we got a little glimpse of it with this Tom vs. Time documentary. I would imagine that's almost harder because it's almost, you go through this stuff, it's almost by rote by year 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. He's doing this every single day. Is the focus part as hard, if not harder, than the actual football that he's playing?
I think so. I mean, he's obviously, and we all are, creatures of habit. You need to, meetings are at 7 a.m., I lift at 10, practice is at 1, I get treatment at 2, film from 3 to 4. They're all these great high-level very productive athletes are creatures of habit. And to do it for going on 18 years, 19 years, going into 20 years, you would think at some point the monotony of it would wear on you, but it just doesn't seem to wear on him at all. He keeps putting up the same impressive numbers and keeps winning football games.
I want to talk about Tom Brady and some of the other great quarterbacks because it's easy to compile good numbers if you have one guy to throw to. But the way you judge quarterbacks and talking to guys who have played with us in the high level, Carson, it's not when the number one guy, because everyone's pretty much accurate going to the number one. It's when they take away your number one and you have to go to 2 or 3 or 4, and you can still deliver with the same accuracy as if the coach gave you your first read. I want you to speak to that because that's what I believe in Tom Brady and the other elite guys, that people on TV, they don't talk about that.
You know what's amazing about them, too, and I'm blanking on his name, but the offensive line coach in New England.
Dante Scarnecchia.
Dante Scarnecchia, a phenomenal name, but he's the best offensive line. You look at the offensive linemen that get rotated in and out of there, and at the end of the year, what it comes down to is who's healthy up front. Who has the best offensive line? Who can let you get to your second and third and fourth reads? Because Tom's not doing it with his feet. Tom's doing it because he's allowed to do it because of what they do up front. And what they do up front is you never see one guy get matched up one-on-one with Khalil Mack and have to hold up against Khalil Mack. They work together, and for whatever reason, however Dante Scarnecchia coaches those guys, it's always a wash up front. There's always kind of it's a jambalaya of all these mosh pit of offensive and defensive linemen. You never see somebody with a one-on-one track trying to get to Brady. They do such a good job of shielding up front and working together and making that mosh pit almost impenetrable because you can't squeeze through. For whatever reason, there's always just this big mush of offensive linemen and Brady going 1 to 2 to 3 to 4. You can't do that if you don't have the phenomenal play up front.
Cris tells a great story about Brady when asked about why he's still playing. He's got all the accolades, all the awards, all the money in the world, and he said, "Why would I stop taking a test that I have all the answers to. And so even if his physical skills, and he was never a great physical specimen, had deteriorated, his mind, as far as know what's coming, is as sharp as ever. Later in your career, how much did the balance shift from, I'm just going to beat you because I got this great arm, and how to then shift to, I'm going to beat you before snap, pre-snap. I'm going to beat you in the week leading up to it because I know what you're trying to do to beat me.
Well, you just said it. He never had the ability to beat people early on with just raw ability and raw arm talent.
Yeah.
He had to know what was coming and he knew how to counter it from, year 1 or year 2 behind Bledsoe up until now. So maybe, I think you're onto something. Maybe from the get-go, his first point in the league, he knew he couldn't overpower people with his arm. He had to beat them mentally. He figured out how to do it early on, and he's still doing it to this day.
His secret weapon, Nick, and he's the first person I ever heard say this, is instead of the big arm, like the great ones have had, it's his brain. And his ability to continue to create the adversity, create a challenge in his mind week after week, I think is phenomenal. What he is doing and the drive to continue to play and to play for less money.
Wait, how many more years do you think? I mean, he keeps throwing out a number, and we keep throwing out numbers. How many more years do you think Tom Brady could play for?
45 is a big number. 45 is a big. What are you, 42, 41?
Something like that.
Yes, my moisturizer I've been using, I appreciate it.
Him, Frank.
45s, that's a big number.
Isn't it hard to imagine a 45-year-old successful quarterback in the NFL?
It was hard to imagine a 40-year-old successful quarterback.
I don't. 45 is a big number. I just know how much it hurts each year and how slower your body recovers.
Carson,
each
how old
year.
are you right now?
I'm 38. And
He's letting you know.
I put it all. That was it. I knew it was time to walk away.
Tank is empty.
I just knew. He obviously, his tank is not empty. And at some point, Father Time catches up. We hear it all the time. Father Time catches up to all of us. At some point, you get to 42, 43. Man, I just don't see it. But I didn't see this. I didn't see him playing to this day.
Quickly here, you touched on it, Jenna. There's also something, it's not just about the health and him keeping the pliability. Something remarkable about Tom Brady at that age to still want it. He's got nothing left to accomplish. He's got $100 million, and he's the side money of his family.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, there's nothing left for him to do. It's a hard place to work. It's a cold place to work. And he still has that drive, which is all-time great stuff. It's unbelievable.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from First Things First, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.